Everyone knows Jason Statham as the rugged guy who executes his own stunts. But behind the scenes, things are different. Medical findings came out in 2025 that showed how much his perilous job really cost him. Broken ribs, concussions, and a wrist fracture that never healed right. Rosie, his wife, recently told him to cease pulling some stunts. Why? Because the physicians told them something that scared both of them. The man who has survived drowning, bee stings, and innumerable conflicts now has to face his biggest nemesis yet. And this time, he can't get out of it by fighting. He was born on July 26, 1967, in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, a community that didn't give dreams, but work that broke backs and hopes. The land and the lungs of the individuals who worked in coal mines were changed by mining. Jason Statham was born into a world where survival was more important than comfort. Barry Statham, his father, was born in 1939 and lived through the coldest winters and the worst paychecks in Britain. By the time Jason was born, Barry was doing everything he could to make money. He painted houses, mined coal, sold things on the street, and even sang in lounges in the Canary Islands when he couldn't find work. He didn't have the option to pick. He did it if it paid. Eileen Yates, Jason's mother, was a talented dancer who added rhythm and energy to their otherwise dull working-class life. Her life was spent in bars and dark lounges, singing under low lights as her husband fought for money in the streets. Jason stood on the sidelines and saw both universes. He witnessed both hardship and stage lights, as well as mud and flare. Their house wasn't broken. It just wouldn't quit moving. Barry sang, Jason played the drums, and Lee played the guitar. It was like their own little show that they had to do, not for fame. They left Shirebrook when they were 10 and relocated to Great Yarmouth, a coastal town full with noise, stalls, and tourists. Barry opened up shop again, this time at open-air marketplaces, where he sold cheap things to those who walked by. The labor was quick, dangerous, and never-ending. Jason learned everything by watching him. How to read people and know when to push and when to back off. He could have worked full-time, but he didn't. He chose something else. Martial arts. Jason started training hard when he was 11. Chinese martial arts, karate, and kickboxing. He practiced every day, turning all the stress inside him into control. Then followed Muay Thai, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Krav Maga. He learned how to do throws like the SEO Najing and grips like Kesagatami, and he achieved his black belt in karate. The discipline kept him out of trouble. It made him sharper than other people. He was not only strong, but also exact. And accuracy gave him strength. He met Vinnie Jones in school. Back then, they weren't famous, they were just boys with cleats and tenacity. From 1978 to 1983, Jason played forward. The football pitch taught him discipline in a different way. Teamwork, timing, and planning. It wasn't only a sport. It was a different approach to stay alive and feel in charge in a world that didn't offer guarantees. He had that mentality in whatever he did. Jason started diving when he was 12 years old. Not just for fun, but for work too. He trained with Great Britain's national swimming team for 12 years and learned how to dive from 1, 3, and 10 meters. He was 23 years old when he competed in the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand in 1990. He came in 7th in the 1-man, 11th in the 3-man, and 12th in the 10 naming tweeter platform. He only got 13.86 points on one dive. A court in England gave him a 0.5. It hurt. He didn't make it to the Olympics, and he knew why. He had a late start. But even that defeat made him stronger. He worked part-time selling imitation jewelry and perfume with his dad while he was training. This wasn't just a pleasant weekend job. It was hard, never-ending survival. Standing on the curb in any weather, hoping someone would buy what you were selling. It looked like a way out when modeling came along. He got campaigns with Tommy Hilfiger, Griffin, and Levi's between 1996 and 1997. It seemed like it would work, but it didn't pay much and didn't go anywhere fast. After that, everything changed. Guy Ritchie was looking for someone to play a real hustler in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Someone who didn't have to act. Someone who had really sold items on the street. Jason wasn't only right. He was the part. He made $5,000 to play Bacon. The movie blew up. He made $15,000 for Snatch 2 years later. He didn't get famous because he learned how to act, he did it because he had previously lived it. Jason Statham stepped on the edge of a diving board in Auckland in 1990 to represent England at the Commonwealth Games. He came in 8th in the 1-meter event and 11th in the 3-meter and 10-meter dives. Those scores didn't win gold, but something else came out of the water. His body, his equilibrium, and his presence. A scout at London's Crystal Palace saw that presence. In 1996, Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, and Griffin paid him $5,000 for each commercial to pose in front of a camera instead of jumping off platforms. That money sounded fantastic, but it didn't go very far in London. He didn't choose modeling, it chose him. The jobs were only coming in because his body still looked like it belonged to an athlete. French Connection didn't want a model who looked like a model by 1997. They wanted someone who was more rough around the edges and didn't fit the fashion template. Statham has the proper type of rawness. His buzzed hairdo, square jaw, and no-nonsense look made him the face of their FQ campaign. There were posters of him all over the city, on the walls of alleys and stores, yet he only made around $10,000 a year. It was just enough to stay where they were, not enough to move up. People knew his face, but his fridge was still half empty, so he worked hard, just like his dad. He sold false perfume and fake jewelry on Oxford Street, using the same methods he had seen as a child. A flash of confidence, a quick anecdote, and a charm offensive that made travelers feel at ease. He made $200 some days. That was money for staying alive. But it wasn't safe. In 1996, he sold a fake Rolex to 2 people who turned out to be undercover police officers. He didn't freak out. He smiled. He made a joke. He got away from the cuffs by talking. He learned something from that escape. When things get tense, stay still, speak up, and take charge. That cool refusal would become his signature move in every audition. Music videos came before movies, though. The Shaman made a rave-style video called Coming On in 1993. Statham, wearing leopard briefs that shone in the club lights in Brighton, danced without a plan and without a script. Eraser filmed Run to the Sun in 1994, and he was partly naked again. This time, he was in a gilded cage on the beach, swaying to the beat like he was born to be in front of the camera, not in the water. No one had named him an actor yet. He was merely a moving body. But things were changing. Guy Ritchie wanted to be real in 1997. He didn't want actors who were too polished. He wanted the street. He needed someone who could tell him a lie and make him believe it. Instead of a resume, Statham brought a hustle. Ritchie told him to sell bogus things right away. He performed such a good job that he got the part. Bacon, a street-smart gambler in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, wasn't too far off. It was just Jason being himself. He got $20,000. Not much, but more than any perfume scam. And for the first time, it had credits. That movie was a mess. The cast improvised sequences while people in the background yelled at them. They filmed at real East End bars on a budget of $800,000. Statham didn't have lines, he had instincts. In one scene, he used a shotgun to break a car window, which was like battles he had avoided in real life. Not even the nerves were artificial. Ritchie thought that was a good idea. The mess turned into magic. But after they filmed Rap, the producers almost cut Statham out. People said his accent was too rough and too East End. Ritchie would not give in. He strove to retain Jason's natural voice, rough and not perfect. Lock, Stock came out in theaters in August 1998 and made £3.9 million in the UK. It also made Statham's scowl famous right away. Ritchie contacted him again 2 years later to get Snatch. This time, he wasn't a minor character. He portrayed Turkish, the boxing promoter who got caught up in gang conflicts and a diamond robbery. The budget went up to $10 million. Statham had more lines, more stunts, and more injuries. During a fight scene at an old London gym, he broke 2 ribs. No stuntman, no problems. Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro were in the cast, and the turmoil was real. They filmed in alleyways and buildings that were falling down. It appeared like every frame had been pulled out of the ground. The movie made $83.6 million around the world. That visage, which used to be on cheap perfume kiosks, was now on movie posters all over the world. But not everything worked out behind the scenes. During the reshoots in 1999, Statham made up a threat against Del Toro's character. Del Toro had no idea it was improv. He felt it was about him. There was a lot of tension. Words flew. Richie had to step in to calm things down. That fight never got to scream, but it did get intense. Their scenes crackled because there was something unspoken between the lines. Later, Statham said he almost went too far. But that was the line he always walked. Real, raw, and dangerous. Jason Statham stepped onto the set of The Transporter in 2002 with the goal of showing that action heroes didn't need wires, CGI, or stunt doubles. Everything changed because of one scene at a dirty bus depot. He fought off attackers while covered in oil for 15 hard takes. It wasn't just for show. He did every kick, every tumble, and every move. By the end, his ribs were so damaged that it hurt to breathe. There were no cheats for the camera. Corey Ewan, the director, taught him martial arts for 2 months before they ever started filming. And that preparation made one of the most talked about scenes in the movie. It wasn't simply that the oil war looked real, it was. That level of risk wasn't just a one-time incident. The parts where the cars chased each other were much more exciting. Statham signed a contract that said there would be no stunt doubles for driving, even though the budget was $20 million and the goal was to make it look real. So, when you see him drive backwards through the small, packed streets of Marseille at almost 80 miles per hour, it's actually him behind the wheel. There was no green screen or controlled track. The crew had to film in between rush hours in the area to avoid problems. If they had made one incorrect turn, there would have been twisted metal and sirens, but they didn't. The movie made $43.5 million around the world, and his legend began. 3 years later, Transporter 2 raised the stakes again. With only suction cups, Statham ascended a 10-story building in Miami. No wires, no backup. The hold slipped halfway up. He dropped 20 feet. He had to stay in the hospital for a week because of the significant ankle sprain. They finished the sequence with a stunt double, but it was too late to fix the damage. He limped through moments that needed speed and strength, but he wouldn't give up. Later, director Louisier said that the maneuver should never have been tried without failing saves. That was Statham's choice, and it almost cost him his job. After that, there was a fight on the plane. In the end of Transporter 2, he fought against turbulence in a fake jet that had actual G-force hydraulics. It was cramped, messy, and very hard to plan out. But there was a different kind of fight going on off-camera. His co-star Shuei didn't want to kiss him on camera because of cultural differences. In the middle of production, the scene had to be reworked. No more dialogue, reshoots are set up. The stress could have ruined the flow, yet they made it work. The movie still made $85.1 million and preserved its reputation for being high-octane. Transporter 3 took him to Ukraine in 2008 for one of the most risky stunts yet. He was handcuffed to a truck and had a dislocated shoulder. He ran across rugged roads, hit genuine obstacles, and powered through scenes without any computer gimmicks. Each hit hurt more than the one before it. Critics said the violence was too much, but fans loved how real it was, and the stats showed it. $18.5 million around the world. Pain was a part of the process. He never requested for a stand-in, even though his shoulder took months to heal. He just kept on going. That year, he also worked on the heist movie The Bank Job, which was based on the 1971 Lloyd's bank robbery. The team found out during filming that MI5 data related to the original robbery had only lately been made public. The papers revealed that the administration was hiding the fact that images of a royal family member were stolen. The stakes changed. MI5 watched the set. The producers recruited security. And all of a sudden, the story became more real than fiction. It scared people. But it also got a lot of attention. Statham wasn't only acting like a thief. He was telling a tale that the administration wanted to hide. Death Race has the same fearlessness. Statham raced armored automobiles at high speeds and did his own burnout sans gloves. His hands burned on the hot metal. In one scene, a guard's head was cut off by a prop while Statham slammed against it with all his strength. The MPAA almost stopped it. The producers fought back against the censor's requests for edits, and the movie was released with its most violent sequence still in it. It brought in $75.8 million. And some who didn't like it claimed it was too real. Statham's staff told him over and over to use safety gear. He didn't. He wanted it raw, even if it stung. Then came the war. Jet Li and Jason Statham fought with swords in a very well-rehearsed scene. One mistake and the sword cut Statham's arm wide open. There was a lot of blood. 12 stitches. He should have quit. He kept filming for 12 more hours, though. His clothing was adhered to the cut. The filmmaker said he would stop making the movie. He said no. The scar never went away. The story didn't change either. It reminded him that he wasn't acting. He was strong. The danger followed him even while he wasn't in the Transporter series. He drove a Mini Cooper through the LA metro tunnels in The Italian Job. They shot it with 32 automobiles and more than 200 takes. Then one went under the water. A rig broke down and left Statham stuck in a flooded tunnel. The crew pulled him out moments before he drowned. He later said that was the closest he had ever been to dying on a set. He said, "I shouldn't have done it, but he did." Things became even crazier in Crank. He played a hitman who had to maintain his heart rate up or perish. He ran over real freeways in Los Angeles with no barriers, darting in and out of real traffic on the 110. Cars changed lanes. One hit. The filming stopped. People sued each other. The crew bribed off furious drivers, but the photo made the cut. It was hazardous, careless, and something I'll never forget. The narrative wasn't simply about the disorder, it was the chaos. When Jason Statham joined the Expendables in 2010 as the knife-throwing mercenary Lee Christmas, he knew the movie would be a crazy combination of egos, explosions, and old-school action. He didn't think he would almost drown 3 years later, though. While he was filming Expendables 3 in Bulgaria in 2013, the brakes on the flatbed truck he was driving stopped working. The car sped off a pier and into the Black Sea. Statham was trapped, sinking, and twisted in his own holster. He was just seconds away from passing out when he slipped out a window and swam to safety. He said it was a bad experience that affected how he thought about stunts. He didn't stop, though. He put on other clothing and went back to work. He lived because he had been a competitive diver at the Commonwealth Games. That background kept him alive. Later, Sylvester Stallone claimed, Jason was a goner if he didn't know how to swim like that. This made the crew re-evaluate safety on the set and led to litigation. Things had been too real before. Statham strove for realism while filming The Mechanic in 2011. This was a remake based on precise assassinations. The budget grew to $50 million, in part because he wouldn't employ CGI to manufacture explosions. One real explosion went wrong and hurt a stunt coordinator. Another one almost hit him. The filmmaker later said that it was Statham's idea to employ actual effects, which made the movie more gritty but cost genuine blood. The stunts and catastrophes were much more dangerous when the sequel came out. In 2013's Fast and Furious 6, Statham makes his first complete appearance as Deckard Shaw. One of the last tricks was to drive a car off a 260-foot ramp to make it look like a plane crash. Winchar turned the automobile over on the day of filming. Statham had whiplash and had to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks. He subsequently claimed it was one of the most risky things he'd ever done and that the injuries reminded him of how little control you actually have in those moments. Then came The Meg in 2018, a big-budget shark movie with a prehistoric twist. He almost died during one of his underwater stunts. The rig broke under pressure while they were shooting in a diving cage, trapping him 45 feet below the surface. He was stuck for 45 seconds before he was able to get free. He was really scared, but he stayed calm, came up, and kept going. No retreat, no double. The movie cost $150 million to make, yet it made $530 million around the world, making it one of the most successful shark movies ever. Statham subsequently commented that the shoot was scary in a way that fight sequences never were. Sharks don't listen to directions. In Mechanic: Resurrection, he brought that way of thinking to a whole new level in 2016. One of the best parts of the movie shows him climbing a tower in Malaysia without any safety gear. He really did it in real life. There weren't any harnesses in the first takes. He plummeted 30 feet and hit the concrete hard. The concussion stopped filming and made it necessary to redo scenes. He kept going, but later he softly said that a lot of injuries like that were ignored on stage. Stunt actors put their lives on the line every day and hardly anyone notices, he added. After the Crow incident, many people thought safety was better. But there was still danger on Statham's sets. Stunts weren't the only thing that was dangerous. In 2015, during the filming of Spy, a biting comedy meant to make fun of his customary tough guy image, things grew ugly when director Paul rewrote the script without telling anyone. Statham left the set for a day. The fight rocked up the $65 million production. Crew said that was the only time they saw Statham really lose his temper. He came back, and his performance was one of the best in the movie, combining deadpan timing with gritty action. But it also indicated how nervous he was about breaking up. He hit 100 Mattis Tempin on a motorcycle when filming Hobbs and Shaw in Samoa the same year for a pursuit scene. The bike hit a pothole, threw him across the street, and shattered his wrist. He kept going. He didn't call for a double. He got well and returned back to finish the stunt. Crew members remarked that his refusal to falsify anything made them both devoted and worried. People started to criticize him in the 2010s for not taking on serious roles. He declared he didn't want to play soft characters and passed down an audition for The Dark Knight. Some people said it was short-sighted, but it worked. He established a brand worth $20 million each movie that didn't need Oscars, only punches, scars, and box office figures. He once said, "I'm not here to act like someone else. I'm here to show what happens when someone pushes back." In 1997, before all the fame, he met model Kelly Brook on a photo shoot. They started dating and stayed together for 7 years. He proposed in 2004. Weeks later, she called it off after being photographed with Billy Zane on the French Riviera. Statham was crushed. Friends said he felt humiliated. Brook later said they might have lasted if they weren't in the spotlight. He never spoke publicly about it except once when he said he felt like a cuckold. It stuck with him. Then came model Sophie Da. They lasted 6 months in 2005. She said his workout routines and filming schedules made him emotionally distant. By August 2006, they ended things. She later said the passion was real, but the future wasn't. He met Rosie Huntington Whitley in 2010. They went public fast, but in 2011, after a fight at the Transformers premiere, they split. They got back together, but the reconciliation nearly fell apart during a high-speed paparazzi chase in Los Angeles. Rosie said it was the moment they realized fame could literally be deadly. They stuck together. In 2017, they had a son, Jack Oscar. Rosie gave birth at home in LA as Statham was filming Meg 2 in 2020 and was gone for months. Rosie admitted the distance nearly broke them. They started therapy. It helped. She said they learned how to protect each other from the spotlight and themselves. In 2022, they bought a $14 million mansion in Beverly Hills. By 2023, drones were flying over their backyard. One came within inches of a window. Rosie said it made her demand stunt limits. Statham once threw a shoe at a drone. It didn't help. The invasions continued. In January 2024, the beekeeper opened quietly and exploded. On a $40 million budget, it grossed $162 million. Statham played a retired assassin hunting scammers. He was allergic to bees, but did every scene himself. He kept EpiPens on him and suffered mild reactions on set. He never used a double. He said beekeeping was scarier than anything he'd done before. A sequel was greenlit before the year ended. In 2025, he starred in A Working Man directed by David Ayer. It topped the MGM Plus charts. Behind the scenes, Statham mentored 12 young stunt performers, taught them safety protocols, and insisted on on-set medical staff. He'd been hospitalized for 3 days during a separate project in 2023 and didn't want anyone else to face that. Studios began following his lead. By 2025, his films had made over $8.5 billion globally. The Meg earned $530 million. Hobbs & Shaw made $760 million. The Expendables franchise crossed $1.2 billion, but his biggest regret wasn't financial. In 2006, he passed on auditioning for James Bond. The studio said 39 was too old. In 2024, he told a podcast he should have fought harder. That rejection made him rewrite what an action hero could be. In 2020, he donated $1 million to UK diving programs. He said diving kept him off the streets and gave him purpose as a teenager. By 2022, over 1/200 scholarships had been funded. In 2025, death hoaxes claimed he drowned in a Texas flood and died in a car crash. They were all fake. He was in Italy posting vacation photos while headlines ran his obituary. It became a joke, but also a reminder that people are always watching, even when they shouldn't be. In 2025, he wrapped filming Levin's Trade, written by Sylvester Stallone and based on Chuck Dixon's novel. It comes out January 17, 2025. Statham plays Levon Cade, a quiet former Special Forces man dragged back into violence. It's darker, less flashy, more personal. It's meant to shift his image again.